Okay, you're live. Peace, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Peace to our new nation. Peace to everybody tuning in. Welcome. Give thanks to the Most High for another strong end. Another Shabbat. Give thanks to Chief Yuya as always for just putting the whole thing together. And codifying all of these lessons that we're learning. We're all students. And Chief has often cited that he's a student who's further along on the path, but he's not someone who, I learned it. And you got to go get it for yourself. At least he'll point you in the right direction, and he'll let you know, it's down there, and the wise are able to grab hold onto it and follow his example, and point the way out to others, which is what we're all learning and perfecting and willfully mastering. Peace in Makuya. So how you doing today, Abba?
I'm doing. Wow. Well, one, Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and give thanks. Today was a little bit more smoother, getting perfecting it, getting it better. And it was pretty good. Again, that keeping that moment intact. How about yours?
My strong was good. I mean, at the end of the semester, so I'm happy. Got traumatized with all the exams, but my finals are done. I'm just waiting for results and just get myself prepared so that I could review what I learned and then move into the next semester. So yeah, it's been going good. Peace, email Yakira Eden. Give thanks for the sound check. Yeah, man. But yeah, my strong was good. Vibing off of just it's sort of what we're talking about tonight, which is calming the storm and dealing with making sure I don't have a bunch of loose ends all over the place. Like I was just tying up loose ends. Like whatever I started and I was neglecting, I was like, I'm working to not only tie up loose ends, but just not start a bunch of stuff and not feel like I can't finish them. It's like it's self-sabotage in a way, right? So it's just going back and rectifying some of these things, and also having to come face to face with the reality that there are some things that you start up that if you leave them alone, they don't just like they're not furniture. Even furniture ages when you're not doing nothing with it. Like things take on a life of their own once you initiate them, and you got to take responsibility for that life that you just manifested, right? So just reflecting on that, and with Yakira Eden's build on first day, dealing with it is finished, and also moving forward with the build that the sisters had last strong, which is always strong. Aki El-Kara coming on with it, with the Badlands and Nomads, dealing with the Mongol Empire, and here we are again. Also with the movie nights that we've been having on Shabbat, that's been cool too. Even though I'm 0-2 with my fight with Wi-Fi, but I'll get it. Hopefully, I'll be able to watch it real time. But I finally got to watch Last Strong's movie last night, which it was real. It was real, poetic. I like the visuals and everything. It was real cool. So definitely gotta watch it again. It's called The Fountain. But yeah, that's the strong in a nutshell.
Exactly. As you were sharing, I was thinking that for a lot of us, we've just finished Ramadan, and that reflection from that time, it helped me, and it's tying into our topic today, calming the storm, because oftentimes when you're always looking to be impatient and you're looking to do it your way, and where calming that storm within your mind, it's basically like I was taking off from when Chief was doing his podcast on Ori Speaks, and it's about keeping that suru, peace, patience,
Mhm.
being patient. And this Ramadan gave me a moment to reflect from within, and basically going back to that storm. If you don't calm the storm within your mind, if you don't calm that part of you, then what will happen is um, those forces will take control of you. And so basically,
Mhm.
it's calming yourself first, and then the outside part of you will just subside. So just going back to reflecting, um, this time it's like, wow, we went through. But it seemed like it took forever. But you know what? This past Ramadan was basically a moment of, again, inner reflecting, and what it was taken for me was, again, suru, patience, being at peace. So this is just ties into our topic.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I see some people coming into the chat, so just want to take a second to greet everyone. Peace, Dr. Hava. Peace, Emmanuel, Coach Maria, Sovereign Eats, Brother Darian. Peace, 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 peace. Ema Spoil, top 10 speakers. Yeah, welcome everybody to the space. Um, how did your strong go? How's everybody's strong going? Peace, this is Yafe. Yeah, how did everyone's strong go? Um, I always ask. It's always interesting to see how everyone's strong in like coincides and the common themes that we may have encountered.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Sometimes, just in general, people may think that their experience is so unique. And Chief has touched on this before. Like some people may think the experience is so unique and it's so um, tailored to them. Sometimes they wouldn't dream that it's something that people have actually experienced before. You know, he cited that's one of the values of having elders. Or people around you like, nah, like I've experienced this before. It happens. And let me tell you how it happened to me. It's not exactly how it's going to happen to you, but it'll give you at least some insight as to why this thing happens this way, on a natural progression of things,
Mm-hmm.
which is hard to, sometimes we lose sight of it when we get a little frazzled. We have a lot going on. Um, it's very easy to trigger us because we're so hypersensitive to everything.
Right.
But when we're in that heightened state, we got work going on over here, and you may have your children over there, you may have some finances that you need to balance. You could have something that's pending that maybe you made a promise to someone, you want to fulfill it. Maybe you got to work with someone on something. Maybe you have a family member that you haven't seen in a while, and you want to make sure that you welcome them more. Whatever it is that is just occupying your mental space. You may even be going through a period of depression or maybe doubt. Maybe you have a loved one who's not doing well, and you want to do as much as you can to help them out. These are some of the things that can throw us off. Um, they can sort of throw us off a little bit. We were talking about this last night with things outside of us that can agitate us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even like I don't know. Maybe like I can't say I'm the only one who's experienced this. But has anyone ever had one of those days where you wake up, you actually get up on time, you do your movement, you do your exercises, you read something, you meditate, and I knew we greet everyone every dawning, and you look outside, the sun is shining, and it's like this is gonna be a good day. you know, and then something just comes out of nowhere and hits you like a ton of bricks. I thought it was going to be a good day, and you gotta readjust to the current reality. You can't hold on to I thought it was going to be a good day because how do you know it's not still good? It's not a good day because you feel like it's a good day. Today is today, and you make of it what you can. But It's similar to the Michael Jai White video that you and I watched last
Mm-hmm.
night, where he was demonstrating. I think it was like a martial arts sort of seminar, and he was saying when you're experiencing a heightened emotion, you know, let's say you're in a traffic jam and you experience road rage. Like when you're angry, the first thing out of your mouth is a question. You know, it's always a question. Like, what's going on? Like, why they gotta stop? Like, why they holding me up? I'm late. Why? Who? What? What's going on? You know, and you could ask these questions all you want until you get up to the front finally and you see that there's been a car crash. And are you still angry? He's like, are you still angry? It's like, no, because you realize there's a logical explanation for what was happening. And sometimes it's like that for us too. You know, I don't know what the logical explanation is for this brick. Just hit me in the side of my head because maybe I'm having a very emotional reaction. You know, or like if like let's say you might be in an argument and someone just hits you, like pops in the face, pop. Now you're in a state of shock because emotionally the fist is still on your face. So
Right.
You gotta wake up. He'll hit you again. Wake up. You know, you gotta be in the moment. And if you don't let go of what you thought the moment should have been, you know, it's thoughts just pile on thoughts, and it creates like this storm. You know, Chief would always often tell us that our mind is the air element, right? It's the element of air. So you have all of these thoughts that are out of control, and you create this storm inside of your mind, and it's hard to see your way through it. You know?
Exactly. And as you're sharing, I'll use at this time we'll use Matthew's chapter 8, verse 23 and 23 to 34.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Yahushua. Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a fierce storm came upon the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Yahushua was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us. We're going to drown." He replied, "You have little faith. Why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it completely calmed. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." When he arrived at the other side of the region of the Gardenerus, two demons possessed men coming from the tomb met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" They shouted. "Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time?" Some distance from them, a large herd of pigs were feeding. The demons begged Yahushua, "If you drive us out and send us into the herd of pigs," he said to them, "Go." So they came out and went into the pigs, and the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the waters. Those tending pigs ran off, went into the town, and reported all of this, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the whole town went out to meet Yahushua, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. It's interesting as we're reading that passage of Matthew about Yahushua, and it's funny because one, he was resting. He was at peace. He was like, okay, we were asking each other about how was your Shabbat. That's like you said, it's the day is trembling or so. So he just wanted to take a moment. And so of course, I think about this passage because like we take for granted like Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Chief, there was an incident. I ain't gonna mention the name. Chief was we were on a retreat. It's so funny, we were on a retreat, and I remember seeing this, and this person was agitating Chief, and I'm like, what the hell are they? again, going back to Yahushua. And so, because sometimes when a person's so unsettled, they just want attention. They just want, okay, I got the storm within me. I'm not settled. I'm just beat. Chief, can you give me a sign? Chief, can you give me a word? Chief, can you do this? Can you do that? And so this brings me to that moment of that retreat. And so Yahushua couldn't even take a break. In other words, he was, and it probably was a 5-minute break, 10-minute break, just to, because it's not like he didn't teach the men that followed him, like us in Anu. It ain't like Chief taught you how to calm a storm or teach you how to follow the guidelines or just do this, follow these instructions. It's not like Chief didn't do that. So now Yahushua takes a nap. He takes a break. And as soon as he takes a moment of break, as they say, all hell breaks loose. They're waking up Yahushua. They can't be at peace. They can't be suru. And so, as I was sharing, reading that passage, it just reminds us of those moments when we have a teacher, a leader, or elder that's in our midst, and then we're taught what to do. But then, soon as our Elohim tests us with a storm, we get unruffled. Like you mentioned about the traffic jam. Mm-hmm. We break down. We forget that we were given lessons. We forgot that quick. It's like, wait a minute, we spent this amount of years, this amount of months, and one particular lesson, and then easily we forget that real quick. Going back to what I was saying about, for me, going through Ramadan, it was like, I know that I've been taught for years about suru. For those who don't know what suru is, it's Yoruba for peace. And it's another word as well. And it's basically, oh goodness, because I was listening to Chief when he was saying, but it'll come to me. So,
the coolness.
Coolness. And so, but there's another word he said. But anyhow, just I'm going to continue with this. So the thing is, you're ruffled. You're ruffled because why? There's a storm brewing. Now, instead of taking the time to calm the storm within yourself, we get ruffled up. Have I done it? Of course. Painstakingly, I can say, yes, I messed up. We all do. But these moments, going back to calming the storm as our topic is, that we have to keep in mind that if we don't strive at working at that, our Elohim will go be tested. Mm-hmm. That's as long as we're breathing, we're going to be tested. So I utilize that time to, in Matthew's gospel about Yahushua, just, and then going back to when a person was possessed, Chief had to deal with that too, where you have to deal with those malevolent spirits in a person, and so now that has to be cast out. Why? So it doesn't affect the community, doesn't affect everyone else. We have, of course, in our community we have children, so Chief always has to be alert, just like Yahushua. He always has to be on guard. He has to be always ready. Sometimes he doesn't even have a moment of a break, just to be at peace.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about in that passage in Matthew about that storm.
You know what was interesting? I might be wrong. I could be wrong. But this is the only passage that I remember Yahushua actually resting. I can't think of another one. Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I meant someone in the chat help me out. You can Google it right quick.
Yeah, because even in Gethsemane, he didn't rest. He didn't rest.
I don't think it would say. I don't think I remember reading it where it said Yahushua was asleep or resting. Mm-hmm. Other than in this in this passage. So I thought that was interesting. Oh, and let me get with the chat before it runs away from us. This one is from 808. So let me speed run through the chat very quick. So Emo Kuya says the beginning of my strong was quite challenging. Looking forward to hearing how to calm the storm. Well, learn how to calm that storm. You gotta be able to outline the nature of the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Softer Harvest says, I really appreciate this topic because I had to tell myself more than once this strong to stay calm. This allowed me to think clearly and respond righteously. Okay, cool. So Softer didn't catch the case. Quia says, this topic makes me think about how a storm quiets itself, then suddenly returns, like on the movie Perfect Storm. Yeah, I haven't seen them.
I seen it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been a while. I gotta see it again.
Yeah. Do you understand the reference? I don't. I don't know if everybody else in the chat does. But storm quieting itself.
Maybe I have to ask her what does she mean, like it suddenly returns. I mean, storms usually when they come through, they come and they pass. You know, I don't. Yeah, I have to maybe from that movie. I can't remember. Maybe she'll give some more.
Okay, maybe some more context. Okay, Sister Maria says, hey, talk about perspective. When you don't have all the details, you make a judgment call with a lopsided argument. Peace, Sister Yumina. Shabbat Shalom, Chief. Hopefully your strong has been gone well and you're able to rest. Sister Quia says she's having a nice salad. I'm sure you were enjoying the ground beef salad places. Like grilled ground beef salad places between the two sesame seed buns blanketed with 2 layers of cheese. Yeah. Those are good salads. Yeah, Suru's patience. Right. Okay. Suru's patience. Give thanks, Chief. Yep, Herut, we go into Yob mode. Yeah, yep. Yob is like what's going on? I haven't do nothing. Queer says, why did I know you were gonna put some extras on it? Not at all, Chief. I do still have my weaknesses, but I'm getting a little better at it. They were at sea. At one point, the storm quelled itself. I'm guessing you said quelled itself. The storm quelled itself. The clouds cleared. The sun came out. Then, monies later, it returned. Okay, someone thinking about some invoices that someone ain't paid them this Friday. So, hopefully, Quia don't have to strong arm no one because she's clearly thinking about her money. But yeah, man. But it does happen like that with certain storms where you have something going on internally and there's like a crisis, right? Mm-hmm. Or you perceive it to be a crisis. And then you get spell check was doing it, right? Well, spell check usually corrects your language based on your previous language. So I don't know. But yeah, you have certain tendencies within you, and you don't really see it until your triggers come, or you go into crisis mode, or like Isaac said, I'm gonna attribute it to him because I heard it from him, but I don't know that brother. I don't know. Never know what Isaac. But right. He would often say, you never know. You never know it's in a tea bag until you put it in hot water. So that hot water is like what you consider to be a crisis or your trigger. And like for me, one of my triggers is like misplacing stuff. Like it was a lot worse when I was younger because I used to immediately go to cursing. Like, who the F moved my, oh, there it is. It's one of those things where I'm automatically like, who touched my stuff? Because I have to keep stuff so orderly. And if it's not in the place where it's supposed to be, like someone's messing with me, right? And this was like the closing point that Michael Jai White was talking about when he was talking about the traffic jam, and he was like, there was like if you realize there was an accident, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm not angry anymore. But he was like, how many traffic jams or how many accidents do there need to be before you realize that it's not some conspiracy against you?
Right.
How many times do I have to curse at the heavens before I realize, like, you just need to be a little more careful with where you put your stuff when you're done using it, or maybe someone's not out to get you, maybe they just accidentally bumped into you, hence the apology that they just gave you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. It's like, watch where you're going. You was bumping into me. You got a problem? But you have some people who are wound up tight like that. There's always a storm going, and they're looking for that logical explanation to say, okay, this person is the problem. And once I can blame this person or whoever is the target of my blame, then I can feel a little bit better because I feel relieved now. At least I know that you're the blame. You should have just told me you had a problem with me. It's like, and you don't want to get sucked into that with someone else, but you also want to make sure you don't do it. And we can panic and make panic decisions like that. And there's a difference between panicking and actually being prepared. Because when you're moving with study and you're moving with the culture, when this happens, you move this way. When that happens, you move this way. Even if it's not something that, because if you get the Anu way tomorrow, you may only read halfway. But you start taking in the mentality of an Anu, and you realize, okay, I'm not going to respond that way because it doesn't line up with how the other responses. These other responses, I tried them out based on what I read so far, and they work. This doesn't seem to be in alignment with it. Maybe I shouldn't be cursing or carrying on or trying to break people's stuff. Like maybe this person didn't try to steal my parking place. Maybe they just didn't see me. Or even if they did try to steal it, like what am I going to do? Like, what are you really going to do? Are you really going to get out your car and try to fight them for a parking space? But again, it's like it's one of those things where there are some people where when all else fails, or when there doesn't seem to be an apparent answer, any answer will do. And sometimes you feel like an extreme answer is better than no answer.
Right.
I'd rather go to the extreme than to just sit back and, like Chief was saying in the earlier part of that segment that you mentioned, the Ori, you wait for your transmission, as opposed to saying, I'll do whatever. The first thing that comes to mind is doing something is better than doing nothing. You know what I mean? I see some more responses in the chat. Chief said, thank you, brother. This strong has been awesome. Lots of good news and positive transitions. Just fell asleep in my jacket for an hour, headed outside. So the body demanded rest and received it. Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes your body pulls the e-brakes on you, and you just gotta stop. Yeah, Imanaya says the only other rest I see is John 4:6, where he was weary from his journey and sat down by the well where he met the Samaritan woman. But did he sleep?
Right.
Because he went there to stop, but as soon as he stopped there, it was more work. He still went there and wound up working. And it reminded me of Chief again. The whole sabbatical, he's supposed to be resting. and he's still helping people. You know, Imokwe says, yeah, crisis mode is said to be high energy expenditure, yet doesn't last long. How you respond to the trigger early on is important, as mentioned earlier. Yeah, man. Yeah, but Abba Herut, you told us about a couple of situations where it's like a crisis mode, and you've been in certain fields too, like not just the one which you're in now. You know, dealing with driving a bus for the special needs children, but also you said you were a firefighter at one point.
Yeah, I remember my first fire. The adrenaline was going. Fell in the ditch and everything, and thought my hand was burning. But again, because of the steam, it wasn't on fire. It was because of the steam from the inside the building. And so, but this goes back to when you have leaders, when you have firefighters that had more time than me, and I was a rookie. So if it wasn't for, and then this is another thing, sometimes Christ represents that leader. He knew, it's amazing. None of the apostles, none of them got one of the other apostles. You notice that? There's a whole bunch of them on there. They all woke up Yahushua. They knew, they knew he had a busy day. Busy life, not just a busy day, busy life. But you notice that they didn't ask any other, I ain't gonna wake. I'm pretty sure it wasn't in there, but I ain't gonna wake them, man. They didn't hesitate. So going back to being a firefighter is like, I'm grateful, and for us, when you have a leader, when you have like a Yahushua, who was not only suru, patience, peace, calm, but at the same time had to be a example for the other men in the boat to how to deal with a situation. Okay, going back to the elders and my firefighters that had way more experience than me. I'm grateful because all my life in my endeavors, I've had great leaders, great elders that. And being a firefighter, one of the rules was you ain't dying on this shift. You're not dying with me here because it's a teamwork thing. And I never, in my house, we never lost a firefighter in a battle. They transition because of heart attacks and so because of the stress, but never, and my house never was, and that was the goal. No, we don't have time for losing someone because that's another storm. Now we have to do search and rescue. We call it search and rescue. A lot of times we're told to go in that burning building. Again, it's raging. We got to search and rescue. We don't know where they're at. Usually a victim is usually near the doorway, coming like in a room and the entrance door or so on. So we usually look. And now, mind you, it's pitch black. It's dark. Room filled with smoke. Can you imagine? Most people couldn't imagine going in a burning building. I'm not afraid of fire. So, that's just power, because I had to learn that in the academy. But that's the thing. You had to go into that mode of do what you got to do, put it out, and then get out of there.
Right. And how was that before and after, like mentality, like your mentality before you went into your training versus, after you went through your training? And then after your first fire,
the mentality, it was 6 months of brutal training mentally, because you're taught to. Everyone's going away from the fire. You're taught to go to the danger, going back to the storm. So there was 6 months of mental training that we had to prepare, and you have to make it, because if you don't pass those tests, you're not going to succeed. Because everybody can't succeed at doing it. I forgot a lot of the training, a lot of his adrenaline and everything, but we were putting simulations. We were putting it in a it's called a smokehouse, and we simulated a fire, and that was my first. It's like, wow, you just had to feel around you're on the floor, feeling around, because you're in a building that you've never been into before.
Oh
The goal
wow,
is to
yeah,
find now. Usually, in a building, the fire will have that area where you can see it. So we got to go to it and we extinguish it. Okay. Then you have to. They call it hot spots. And you heard about backdrafts. Yeah, you got to look for all that. And so we have one team coming in from the front door. Usually, I was usually the team going right in, and we find the fire wherever it is, and then we extinguish it and get out. But the goal is, yeah, the adrenaline's going. Yeah, adrenaline's going. I never, after I went through my first fire and went through it, I didn't have a fear of being dying. I can say that. I got over my first, I think my first 2 times going in a burning building, the adrenaline I was just in action mode. It's like, okay, got to go to it. That's it. So, because it just kicks in. After a while, this kicks in, you just automatically do it.
Right, but you have to reprogram the response. Because like you were saying before, the response is get away from the fire. Now the response is like, you don't even think about it, you just go straight to it.
Right. I mean, I'm still at my weight right now. I see burning. It was something of a fire of somewhere, and I went in. I didn't have my gear on. I'm like, I'm not there. Go and get it. Put it out. But it's. I can't. They have tactics different now that they train. I was trained the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way. Basically, you hang with. Basically, what it is you hang with one of the old timers. Come on, rookie. Come with us.
Right with me.
Hell with that being scared. No, come with it. And that's how I was. How I was. Those guys were tough. And it's like, I've never been in the military, but it's like that. It's totally like that. The boot camp and everything is similar to that. And so, but basically, like, no, just come on, we're going to do this. They didn't care if you were scared or not. It's like, you're scared, okay, you deal with it. You ain't got time.
Right, like Chief says, do it scared.
Exactly. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm not going in. I didn't have an experience where I'm not going in there. I'm like, no, I had to go. My only big experience I did not like is finding bodies in there. I could not stand it. I never told my elders that. I never told the old timers, but that was one of my biggest fears is finding a body. And that has happened a couple of times. I'm like, but you don't have that mode. That was probably the only scary thing for me is not a fire, but bodies. That was the biggest thing. But no, just the old timers. I had old timers that they got me along. I mean, yeah, and they have time to be fear of being afraid. So
yeah, my chief says, yes, Abba. I'm sure that with the fire company, you show some things. Even working with Chicago Transportation.
It prepared me for what I did. I've seen bodies mangled. Again, storms, where everybody freeze. Those challenges prepared me for dealing with, because where I worked at, they have their own fire thing to deal with the fire department, and that's what they do. So, and that's, we have a rescue when it comes to someone in front of a train or so. That's what I was trained to do, and not scary. I hated it, but yes, mangled bodies and everything. That's the part I hate dealing with. But never took some time off, just dealt with it. But again, when you're with those old timers, we call them old timers. When you're with them, they didn't waste any time, and I appreciate that. And that's going back to Yahweh shot. When you're around people that are masters at their game, the masters at their trade, it makes you appreciate your leaders. You have a different respect. Like for Chief, my journey, even with my Baba made it easy. I spent 2.5 years of studying with him. But the most important of all those studies, Suru. That was the one thing that he pounded. I was like, why does he keep repeating Suru? Of course, after he passed on, and now, I was talking to my mom in Nigeria, and they're like, yeah, Lushan, now you're the elder now. How does it feel now? You got, yeah. And I'm like, wow.
You got the juice now.
But when you're around those old timers, I don't call Chief old timer, no. But Chief's been around. Chief is the chief. And so when you experience certain things, when you're around the master, And going back to those men around Yahushua, it's gonna make you or break you sooner or later. Or can it be to where that storm is too much, where you have to leave, or you can't go through it? Okay, there's some of us, and some that not us, but some in our new have not stayed because the pressure was too much. The storm was too grand. People focused. They didn't follow the instructions as Chief would give us. Again, I was given instructions. If I didn't follow those instructions, you're out. They don't have time to, and then they curse. They were using 15-letter, 20-letter curse words. Firefighters they'll go to confession later. Firefighters did not hold any words back. It's like military. They did not care. You either deal, because we don't have time to deal with your crazy. You die on us, I'm gonna kill you. But that's the work. Being in a storm, you got to be ready. Even if you're not ready, can you handle it? If you follow the instructions that, like Chief gives us, if you follow the instructions in the Anu way, if you follow instructions in the solution to dysfunction, if you follow the 14 keys, if you follow the and then you apply that, guess what? You'll make it through the storm. Yeah, you're gonna be scared. Yeah, it's gonna seem like you're not gonna make it. Yeah, it's gonna seem like, oh my God, not another storm. But you're gonna be okay. Calm down. Relax. Suru.
Right. Suru.
Cool your mind. Cool your head. Calm down. Because again, going back to you're gonna have to have a level head. Look what a Yahushua was doing. Like Chief was doing what he did to Ori Speaks. You have to have a cool head. You have to, if you don't, to calm a storm, you have to have a cool head. And that's going to be very important. That's what Yahushua was teaching. To have a cool head so you can handle the storms, you can handle the pressure, you can handle those fires. So repetition.
Yeah, it really it helps you to program your intuitive responses. Like, how are you going to respond when you don't have time to think? You know, it comes through with your practices. Like, even with martial arts, a good brother of mine is martial artist, and he would always say, you do training every day, because if you don't have time to think, you react in the appropriate way. You know, if you have a situation where someone attacks you, you might be in the middle of the move before you realize what's going on. You know, but if you don't practice correctly, or if you always tell us, like, you practice wrong, you're going to go out there doing the wrong thing. You know, so if someone puts a little bit of pressure on you, how are you going to react? How are you going to react? Even with Chief, in the same video, dealing with black belt training, like training people to graduate to the black belt. He's always like, the test I'm going to give you is we're going to fight. You know, we're going to fight. And we're going to see what you do when I put more pressure on you. And Chief also says, well, it seems the fire wasn't something to be afraid of, but the job stress was the actual killer. You know, talking about the heart attacks.
What, say it again?
Chief had said, well, it seems the fire wasn't something to be afraid of, but the job stress was the actual killer.
Yeah. We just, Chicago just lost 2 firefighters back to 2 days in apart. A lieutenant collapsed in a high rise because of the pressure. And then the other firefighter lost his life. Again, in a fire. And this is I haven't seen anything like that, where 2 firefighters you lose within a day apart from one another. That's the reality. In the storm, just like any storm, you know, there's casualties. Then that's nothing you want to look at. But that's one thing about that I appreciate. I appreciate those old timers. I give so much. I couldn't be the man that I'm developed and continue to develop and brought to this moment, those moments from those young years. And I was a kid, 19 years old, going through that. And then those years, and then where I'm at right now with Chief, and with my Baba, when he taught me, those moments taught me to where I'm at, to where you appreciate the life lessons. You appreciate your teachers. You appreciate those ones that took a sacrifice. Going back to Yahushua sacrificed his life just to teach, and more importantly, be an example. We take that for granted. When one is calming a storm and teaching you those lessons, it's a life lesson, but also sometimes we take it for granted. We take, and I see that in the world. I see people take patience for granted, or cool head, like you were saying, for granted. Mm-hmm. Have I done it in some moments? Sparingly, yes.
Yeah.
Not on purpose, but those moments gives me opportunity to reflect. It's like, damn, wow. Herut, you have no excuse. You got something that no one else, most of those people out there in the world don't have. I still got my gear. I have all my gear. I can go back right now if I want to. I don't like the politics. That's the only reason the politics. But I give so much respect. My uncle who taught me a lot. And again, and I'm small. To go through the training, to go through, even when I knew, I look at that and I look at what I knew. I'm still amazed because, again, going through a storm, calming, and having to apply those lessons, I'm still somewhat amazed I'm still here. And the reason, and again, I don't take this for granted, it's just taking these moments and utilizing and applying this knowledge, and the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom to apply it in your life, and then striving to always follow the Elohim in that journey where you can calm the storm. So then, my own life, I was able to calm some storms. With other being a mediator, right, for others. But this is what we're called to do. This is what we're called to do.
Yeah, and some storms you can see them building up. Like a couple of people, it's never happened. But some people often report that they are like twisters or like cyclones. Mm-hmm. And you can see them when they're starting, and some people like try to stomp them out like they're fire. And it's sort of like that too. Like you can see when a storm is brewing, and mm-hmm. you can choose to head it off proactively. There's something that you may not be able to prepare for because it's not like a possibility in your mind. You don't really think like, okay, any minute now a piano is gonna fall on my head because some people are trying to move it into the fifth floor of this apartment complex, and I just happen to be walking under it. What do you do? Move? I don't know. The only thing about pianos falling on my head. But during moments of crisis, if you have a mentality or if you have a mindset towards being proactive as opposed to reactive, then that can help to reduce the chances that you will panic. So it's not like we just watching the clip earlier of the lady on the movie Airplane. Mm-hmm. She's in the chair like, I gotta get out of here. Everybody's shaking. Calm down, get a hold of yourself. Right? And it's just this whole line of people just waiting to tell her to calm down and get a hold of herself. Sometimes
right. Slap her a little bit.
Yeah, slap her. Give her one for good measure on the way out. Let the next person come in. And sometimes our thoughts are like that. You may panic a little, and then it just spirals. Mm-hmm. So the first person just shook her. Second person shook her and slapped her once, and the next one slapped her twice. And then they showed a line. One of them has a wrench, the other one has a gun. So you start spiraling, and your thoughts just get worse and worse. And you get suru, right? You gotta pause and breathe, or else like you keep trying to calm yourself down. Like, calm down, because doing something is better than doing nothing, right? But sometimes doing nothing is what you need to do. Sometimes you gotta stop looking at the map and look up, like, where am I? Your map might be the right map, but you may not know where the hell you are. You gotta look around and reassess your surroundings and be like, oh, I'm supposed to be over there. I shouldn't have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. You know
Right.
what I mean? You gotta really reassess what's going on in the present moment, and it's really difficult to be present when there's like you're frazzled. There's all of these thoughts going through your head, and you're trying to do something. I gotta do something. I gotta do something, and you're just making it worse. You're just making it worse. So slowing down, stopping, remembering to have patience, remembering to cool your head, and really look around and not panic, but wait for those transmissions, as Chief would say. But then the question goes back to even how do I discern those transmissions from heaven from those thoughts that may cause me to spiral? What are those thoughts pushing you towards?
Mm-hmm.
Is one pushing you towards panicking more, and the other pushing you towards actually simplifying your situation right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And I know, I was just looking at the chat. As she was saying, yes, Abba Herut, I am sure that that you read that already.
Yeah.
Chief was mentioning, well, it seems that the fire wasn't something to be afraid of, but the job seems stressed. Yeah. Aki, I'm sorry, Emma Aquia, perhaps it's one thing to enter into another's crisis versus your own. Yeah. And
Yeah,
as sovereignty.
that's true. That is true. I've seen that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen
A
it
whole lot.
When you're on the outside looking at it, it's like, what's the big deal? It's like you ever, like for me, if I go to the beach and I see someone tangled up in like seaweed and they're panicking, it's like it's not gonna do nothing to you. It's like, get it off, get it off. It's just seaweed. It's just a plant. That's me. Knowing that I used to have a phobia, like literal irrational fear of seaweed.
Of seaweed?
I
Interesting.
I hated being around seaweed, but it wasn't like I had to place it. I had to place where the fear was coming from. There was this series that used to come on TV, R.L. Stein, with the Goosebumps books, and there was one of them where there was like this I don't know what it was. It was just this black substance sitting on the top of the water, and it looked similar to how seaweed looks when it's a big clump of it sitting on top of the water. And it was this group of teenagers. They call them teenagers, but 30-year-olds used to play teenagers back in the day because teenagers were actually in school.
Yeah.
So actual teenagers. So they used to have like late 20s, early 30s playing teenagers, but all of them were on this like raft in the middle of the water. So there's this lake, then there's this wooden platform floating, and then there's these people, right? And they were like, what's that? And it's like, I don't know. It must be some plants or something like that. So someone was smoking like a cigarette, and they tried to touch it. With the end of the cigarette, they showed a close-up, and then they cut back to the other people who were talking, and they cut back to the person was gone. It's like, where are they? It's like, I don't know. The thing ate them, right? And I'm young, so I'm like, oh, this is what seaweed does. This is how my mind is wiring itself in terms of response. You see seaweed, run. Don't get close to seaweed. So the next person kind of gets caught too. I think they were like arguing or something like that, and they fell in the water. And everyone saw the thing eat them this time. So like, how are we gonna get away? And they were like, we gotta swim for it. Like, swim for what? So they wound up trying to swim for it. And long story short, everybody gets eaten. And that's the end. That's the end of the clip. So that's all I needed to know about seaweed. And I had to just, it was like exposure therapy. I had to get used to being around seaweed. I would walk on the seafloor with the seaweed around it, I would go around, wander into the seaweed and play around with it. Like, there's nothing that's gonna harm you with the seaweed. It's not gonna kill you. It doesn't even look the same.
Right.
But to my 11-year-old brain, all seaweed is out to get me. There's a conspiracy. So the National Seaweed Association got together and was like, we're gonna kill this person.
Well, that's probably well, when you're young, I had a vivid imagination. I mean, it's funny. Light bulb in my living room, it looks like an eyeball. I couldn't go to sleep because the darn thing looks like an eyeball looking at me and panicking. And then you said about seaweed. I remember seeing Jaws. I couldn't sleep in my bed for a whole week because of the movie Jaws. Talking about storm. Well, actually, it wasn't a storm. It was just Jaws. I was terrified. But when you're young and you see that, and that's why, when you're young, you don't really, little things can traumatize you,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and some people probably still traumatized as an adult. They never got over it. Like you said, later on, you found out that nothing was wrong with seaweed, but how many adults are still traumatized by water or storms? We were talking about hurricanes or tornadoes. Mm-hmm. I know people, lightning. When people are terrified with lightning. Mm-hmm. I love lightning and thunder. I love it. Tornadoes.
Some people aren't scared of lightning. They're scared of the thunder.
Huh?
Some people aren't even scared of lightning. They're scared of the thunder.
Well, they're scared of lightning and the thunder. I watch people. I'm like, huh? Mm-hmm. And I love going outside. I'm like, please, ain't nothing. But see, that's me. I'm different. Mm-hmm. I get it. But, some people are afraid of lightning and thunder. Or like you said, just the lightning itself.
Yeah. When I was in school, I used to wait for it. It was like this is bad. But you ever realize, like, when you're out and about and you can hear off in the distance someone speeding. And you can hear them revving up there, and like they're not slowing down, they're not coming to a cruising speed, like they're speeding up. And then you just hear a pause, and it's like, and you wait, like, oh, like I'm messed up though. It feels like I think I'm acting, but it's the same thing with lightning and thunder when I was in school, and school is packed. There's like almost 40 students in the class, like 36 students were in my class, and you see the lightning flash, I was like, here it comes. I'm kind of sadistic like that. I was like, here it comes, because as soon as that thunder hits, even though everybody knows it's coming, you still hear a bunch of, like, not just your class, all of the classes. Like at least 40% of each class was screaming.
I was just going to ask you. I'm sorry, Master Menyelek. I was going to ask you, because you're on the island in the Bahamas. How do you guys handle the hurricanes and everything? I mean, do you go through? You talk about storms.
It's different every time. Every time is different.
Have you seen a big? It just dawned on me with this as you're sharing. I'm like, wait a minute. You're in Bahamas. I mean, you're surrounded by.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we see a lot of big storms. Growing up, you just get used to them. You do things to pass the time because you have to board up outside of the house. And our homes aren't necessarily built like American homes. We all use a lot of wood. And sometimes, like, I was watching a lot of home building videos last year. It's like, why are you using where's the concrete? Everything is concrete. You may use wood for the trusses of the house or the stud walls, but everything is concrete. Concrete blocks, concrete footing, concrete foundation. Everything is concrete because it has to be built up to that standard. That's the building.
You mean there in the Bahamas?
There in the Bahamas, just to make sure that it can resist those storms.
Okay.
And then when the storm is coming, you go through a routine. You go get plywood. You put them over your windows if you can't afford like the shutters or anything. Put them over your windows. And then when the storm ends, you gotta get up and go take them off. Which used to irritate me when I was younger. And it's like, yeah, you got to take them off and assess the damage to your home and everything. Some of them, like I like rain. I like stormy weather. So sometimes I just go outside. You know, if I know it's calm and everything. Hurricane Dorian, I was outside. I was outside sitting in the car watching Netflix. You know, it wasn't until because we were in a very hilly area, so we didn't realize all of the chaos that was going on until there was until there were videos coming through on WhatsApp. Like the streets were flooded in certain areas. Like people needed to ride jet skis to get through the streets to rescue people from their houses. You know, right up the street from us, like there's a hill, there's like a long road, and then there's like a dip in the road. We went out there, like you get to that dip, and everything is water, and all you can see is the people's fascia board and the roofs of their houses.
Wow.
You know, so talk about being in a situation where you panic, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who would panic and drown. Like I've known people who did that, and there were other people who, like my brother's godfather, because he lived up the street from us, and we were looking for him. But when he realized the water was rising, he took his family. Talk about prepared versus panicking. He took his family, and he told them we're going up in the attic, and he took with him a wooden hatchet. Right. So when they got up there, and he realized that there was no going down, he just used the hatchet to break through the ceiling and break through the roof of the house. And he got up to the roof, and that's how they signaled for help.
Wow.
Right. Same storm, with different responses.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stories. You know, with that storm.
But it goes back to what you're sharing. So as we are sharing, what to do when a storm, you know, when you're having a moment,
Right.
attack.
Right. Because
prepare, like Chief would always share us before, like the pandemic, we had to prepare.
Right.
Bug out bag, food. Again, being prepared. So that way, if the storm or whatever comes your way, are you prepared for it? Most people are not prepared. They just go through and then it's like, wow, like you said, some people panic. But then the question is, well, what do you do? Did you prepare for it? Like you where you're at in the Bahamas, you guys have to prepare at a certain time in the year. I think it's like, is it 4 months, 6 months that this is hurricane season or so, or?
I can't remember exactly. Abba Yadaram is better with these
But
days.
my point is, you have to be in preparedness mode. My point.
There we go. There we go. You got it.
There you go. I got it there. You got to be prepared.
Summer months, so usually from like maybe mid to late June.
Okay.
Up until maybe September.
Right.
Like somewhere in that window. Don't quote me on that.
Right, but the point is,
the area.
The point is being prepared. So then the question is, well, what do you do as what like when Yahushua was there on the storm and when he calmed the storm, what could the men around him done? They could been prepared. They could have practiced suru, patience, keeping a cool head. Also, we're you know, us in Anu, we're talking about we as a community. Where's your community at? If you're in an area where there's unreadiness and it's not your community, then guess what? If something erupts and a storm erupts, are you prepared? Well, you may not be prepared because where's your community at? You don't have, most people don't have a community. They just are where they're at. So the question is, do you have a community? And then the question is, well, who are your you see me?
I could see you, but for some reason the sound.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure out if it was me.
Distractions as always.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So who are your leaders? So now your elders, your leaders, who are there to prepare you for before a storm comes, before you have those moments. Like we said, we have the moments where, you know, I think about if I didn't have the prepare, if I wasn't prepared by my leaders and elders and like chief and my babas, if I didn't have that, I would be not equipped to handle storms. Because again, we're going to have storms regardless. We're going to have moments of breakdown or moments of doubt. Who's your community? Who is the leaders around you? Righteous leaders, because they're not just leaders. We're talking about righteous leaders, righteous elders, righteous people around you, men that are there to guide you and to guide you through a storm. Because why? They understand what storms are about. They understand what you're going to go through. Because all of us are going to go through a storm, man or women. It doesn't matter. The question is your readiness, being prepared. Are you around the right people around you? Or are you around the unrighteous people, which they're never prepared?
Yeah, the people you surround yourself with is so key because, and Chief has often spoken about just the importance of having wise counsel around you, especially if you're having elders around you, having people who are successful, having people who have experienced failure, so that they can help you through it. Because some people experience a crisis, and it's like, well, who do you turn to when there's no clear answer? And that's something that you really need to have a wise counsel around you for, because I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end, and you may need that elder who's like Suru, Suru. Yeah, even with we were talking about, you had mentioned it earlier. Your internals have to be calm because there are some storms you cannot stop.
Right.
But your internal storms you can.
Right.
There was some like I can't. Maybe I could, but I wasn't gonna attempt to stand outside in Hurricane Dorian and be like, "Go thy way, cease." That may not have been on my mind, but internally, not panicking helps you to be more effective in your life. And panicking makes you more ineffective because it makes you susceptible to not only your own negative impulses, but the impulses of those around you who may also be panicking. Are you going to panic just because others panic? I'm thinking of Sister Yafe's story now when she ran across state lines when she thought there was a buildings crashing or whatever. She thought it was a disaster situation, so she was like Forrest Gump. She just kept running through the city. Oh, speaking of which, let's get to the chat for a second. Last thing we read was 8:36, and we're about to close out anyway because it's been an hour already. So Sister Sovereignty says in Luke, Yahweh Mashiach, Yeshua HaMashiach, retreated for 40 days and nights in the wilderness. We also see him withdrawing into lonely places for prayer. Those moments offered a time of separation, rest, or recharge. It did a thing. Okay. Ima Kuya says, I can relate to what you're saying, Abba, when it comes to responding to code blue. When someone is in cardiac arrest, you don't think, you just do what you're trained for. Exactly. Yeah. Sister Yafe says, goodness me, 20 letters? Oh, she's talking about the 20-letter curse words. Yeah, filth, flarm, filth, flarm, filth.
Oh, yeah. Some are 40 letters. They just double letters.
South Abba says, since I have been learning to receive instruction from my covering and leadership, responding during the storm has much better results. Okay, good. Sivia says, the calm during the storm is a time for learning. As family head, it can be irritating when storms are self-induced because our prior lesson was ignored because of an unexpected bailout by the covering. Yeah. I've seen some people get bailed out of trouble before that they caused. Exactly. And sometimes you have people who will watch you suffer. Like a good friend of mine, he was telling me about a friend he had who he knew before we met. Like they were young, and he he has a lot of energy. I'll put it that way. He has a lot of energy. Short Dominican dude, half Dominican, half Haitian, all crazy. But he's good. Like he thinks outside the box, but he always has this high energy. And he was telling me how he was always like that. But his friend would always be like his foil. He would always be there to tell him like, "This is your fault," you know. So he was playing on the swing, doing something he shouldn't have done, and he slipped, and he slipped in a way to where like the chain from the swing was around his neck, or the rope from the swing was around, like he was hanging, and his friend was just standing there shaking his head at him like, "Yeah, that's what you get." Like he took that a little extra 5 seconds to say "I told you so" before he helped him out, you know. But sometimes you need that. It's like you caused this, you know. This is your fault, and here it is now. We were just talking earlier today, and he had to tell that same thing to someone else because they were ignoring his warnings, and now they're asking him for bailout. It's like, I'm not doing that for you, you know, because I told you what was going to happen. You know, I can't. I'm not totally there with the family head of it, because most of the people who annoy me, I can walk away from them. You know, it might be different for it's different when you're a father or you're a shepherd or a leader, and it's like, all right, you're gonna learn your lesson. Yeah, you got anything to add? You wanted to add to that before we move on?
No, basically, you know, like you said, you know, you, people may look at Yahushua or look at Chief or look at our leaders and they look at this makes it easy, but they fail to understand that they went through their moments. They learned from their lessons. So they were examples to give to us. So when you go through these, it helps you to understand. So now you can pass it down to someone. Like Chief was sharing about when he did the Ori Speaks. He's like, you know what? And it's interesting he was sharing because people always said that the Ori told the Ori speaks to them. The Ori speak, and I'm like, and like Chief was, I'm like, oh my God. And like Chief was like, there's different components of your Ori. But you know, no, never mind. Go ahead. You know what? Because like he's saying, he can by being in, he understands Ifa very, very well. More than people think. He doesn't say much about it to most people who are ignorant. But then he's like, okay, I see it. They're gonna take a detour. Yep, they don't know it yet, but it's okay. But you know what? Maybe you need that detour. Maybe you know what? You ain't gonna get it this life, but you know what? And so I appreciate what Chief was breaking that down, because even with us, you know, a lot of us come in and then being patient. Interesting. Being patient. The storms, because some of us have storms within us. You know, still have storms. Or little fires. They call them hot spots. I'm like, oh shoot, we just left that place, man. We gotta go back and put that damn fire out. But these things erupt, so now you gotta go back and you gotta deal with it. But then we look at Yahushua. We look at how Chief. We look at how elders who have done the work, who have put their time in, and had elders before them. But then the question comes to patience. Chief did, you know, he every time he teaches us something, it's like, oh my goodness. I know he's like shit. He's like, yeah, you'll get it one day. I don't know when, but guess what? Yeah. But again, going back to Suru, going back to that patience and having a cool head. You know, yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. I'll just say it that. Yeah.
Yeah. Imakria says, I go crazy with seaweed. I can't stand how it feels. Yeah, I couldn't stand how it felt, but I got used to it. You know, I overcame that one. We used to be, oh, beware, you're in for a scare. Yeah, that's the goosebumps bars. So after Abba said, yes, Chief, when one ignores the instruction that would allow one to avoid getting into the storm, the injury is much greater. Imakuya says, there are times when I'm scared of wind. There's a movie like that. Anyway, Sister Sovereign Each says, to your story, Master Menyelek, we are in some ways like you were. We have subconscious reactions that kick in from old associations. How do we calm that type of storm? These days, seaweed might just be some sort of mutation. Yeah, don't stoke that fire. Sister Maria just got over it. We'll come back with that. I rebuke that. Jesus. But yeah, that's a good question. How do we calm those storms? These are things that you have to source. I was lucky enough that I decided to. I was fortunate enough that I overcame that fear fairly young. So I saw it in Freeport, moved to Freeport after that. So I was like maybe 9, 10 years old, and I overcame it by the time I was like maybe 15, maybe 5 years. Some people have 10 years, 20 years of the same irrational fear, and you can't touch it. The second you get close to it, it's like that movie. It's like that movie that Chief had covered this past Sabbath. The fountain, where there's this tree, but the tree has like you could see the hair standing up as soon as he gets close to it. Like the hair starts standing up, and it's like that with us. Like as soon as someone gets close enough to the source of that problem, the hair starts standing up, and it's like red alert or code blue, code blue. It's like you're having a heart attack. You're having a heart attack. And it's like get away from me. So you sort of have to do. You have to acknowledge the problem. That's one of the major pieces. If you can't look at the storm and acknowledge that it's gonna start raining soon, then you're gonna get swallowed up by it. You have to at least acknowledge that there is a storm, And once you're able to acknowledge that there's a storm, there is a center to it. And like we have with hurricane, you have the eye of the storm. It may seem like the calmest part, but that's really like the thing that keeps it alive. When meteorologists, that's what I would mess that word up. When meteorologists are looking at storms on the satellite, they classify them based on whether or not it has an eye. Does this thing have a center that's going to sustain it throughout its journey, or is it just a tropical storm where it's a lot of wind and rain that you need to watch out for? So what level of the storm is it? Or how far is this storm in its development, and what was the source of it? Do you have a lot of conditions that create storms inside of you? Because there's the internal storm and the external storm. The internal storm is fueled by your thoughts, thoughts, feelings, emotions. They can feed into it, or they can suck the life out of it. And then the external storms where you can respond to them based on the status of your clarity of thought. How calm are you, or how patient are you, or how cool are you? If you're not cool-headed, like Yahweh Shai, like he ain't had no storms inside him, so he could talk to the storm outside him. But the disciples are like, all is lost. All is lost. Wake the boss.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
But they woke him up in a panic. But they were shocked when he was like, he did something. Like, didn't you wake him up because he thought he could do something? Or did you wake him up because you wanted to spread your panic to him? Like, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna. Jesus, wake up. We're all gonna die. It's like, I ain't dying. Not yet. This ain't how I go. Oh, there was a movie. Have you ever seen the movie Big Fish?
Big Fish?
Yeah, Big Fish. I
Uh-uh.
think I can't remember exactly who directed it. I want to say it's Tim Burton because it's
I heard about it, but
yeah, but it was about this guy. He tells stories a lot. It's like a bunch of different parables. But in one of these stories, he was talking about when he was young, and everybody there's a woman who was rumored to be a witch who lived at the edge of town, and everybody was afraid to go near her house. You know, it was all dark and there was a dead forest living around it. So she eventually dead forest living around it. There was a dead forest around it, like forest of dead trees around it, and these neighborhood kids, including the main character, go there and there's like they were just talking about the different stories they heard about her. So one of them was like, "Oh, I heard she has a glass eye, and if you look into it, you actually see how you die." And they go to her house, and I think they tried to dare one of them was like, "I dare you to ring the doorbell," but before they even get close, she's outside, and they all like she has an eye patch, but she lifts it up, and they all look into her eye except for the main character, and everybody runs away. They're like, one of them is like, "Oh, when I say I was old when I died." The other one was like, "I wasn't old at all." He has a heart attack on the toilet. So I wasn't old at all, you know. And everybody runs off, but the main character stays. And he was like, "I actually want to see how I died." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, so that's how I go." And after that, he just lives his life like not fearless. It's like I know exactly when I'm gonna die. All right, this isn't gonna kill me. This isn't gonna kill me. This isn't gonna kill me. So he becomes like he becomes super successful at what he does because he knows that even if he fails, he's not gonna die.
mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't gonna kill me. I'll ride the storm out. I'll survive this because I know how I go, or I know where my trust is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I think you did, and and it goes back to when you said about pilots and meteorologists. They have to deal with turbulence. They have to deal with weather uh, it's amazing. And then, like I was sharing, we were talking yesterday. It's like I love flying above the clouds but look at they have to go through. They have to literally deal with turbulence. Now, but this is the part of being a pilot, and they got to spend I forgot how many hours behind that being in that pilot to what to experience what it feels like of turbulence, what it feels like to go through a storm, what it feels like. So, can you imagine when you're a young pilot, you're afraid, you're because again, lightning, you're dealing with it, but after a while you get through it after all those hours. They spend so many hours in before they get their pilot license. But the point is, they understand about currents, they understand about turbulence, they understand about the winds and different storms. But that's part of being a pilot.
Yeah, for sure. Even with like Chief's comment, he says, as a juggler, you smell the storms coming like wildlife, but must calmly guide those you shepherd over without inducing panic. Mm-hmm. So, as a juggler, um, you are battle storms. You battle storms every day, coming in the middle and going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's similar to how you were describing the pilot scenario. You know, you deal with storms every day, and you have to be aware of the fact that everybody doesn't have the same level of experience with storms that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Imakuya says, funny you mentioned that, Chief. In crisis class, I facilitate. It is taught that the healthcare worker goes through every stage of crisis as the client/patient is going through. Client/patient is going through. Wow, yeah. Because sometimes people don't realize that as you're going through a crisis, others may be suffering through the same crisis. Like, I gotta walk you through this. You know, you go through your panic phase, and I'm right here with you. You know, you go through your bargaining stage, I'm right here with you. You go through
Mm-hmm.
your angry stage, I'm right here with you. You know, I'm going through all of those stages with you until you realize, oh, you actually do have me. You know, I am safe. Yeah, man. Oh, I just remember, like, the first time I got stitches, I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do. Long story short, doing something I wasn't supposed to do, and I hit my head. I was like 5 or 6 or something. I hit my head, and I was fighting these doctors who were trying to. I think they're trying to put anesthesia on me so I could go to sleep so they could put stitches in my head. I still got a scar over my left eyebrow, but they're trying to put the anesthesia. And I was just fighting, no, no, and I told this story before. My mother bribed me with a blue Power Ranger, which I never got, and so I'm still holding into that. Um, but yeah, you have these experiences that do last with you, and sometimes you just react. You know, you don't really respond or think calmly, but you have others who are helping you through it, who are looking at it from the outside in, like you're gonna be okay, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Talk to a Speaker says, I remember some years ago when I used to say tutu, getting cool for my libations, and a sense of calmness would come over my spirit every time. Um, Julia says, yes, Aquia, people sometimes mistake your ability to function through crisis as callousness. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they don't understand that you live your life preparing for these moments so you can be of use. That's very true. And even in order to even if I was callous to develop that callousness, there has to be a level of exposure of the tender parts first. You know, like if you build up calluses on your knuckles, you still got tender knuckles at some point, and you have to endure it over and over and over again. You know, and other times too, you may just not be a person who panics all that much. You're experiencing what's going on, but you may not react outwardly emotionally. Like I know some young people, I did it a lot too when I was younger, where some people just implode rather than explode. So you don't see their reaction. You know, there's the one person at the funeral who's like, "Come in, take me with you," trying to jump in the hole, trying to jump in the casket, take me with you. And then there's the other person on the other side of the spectrum who's just standing there, just shaking and crying. You know, so people do respond to these things in different ways. Some people have an inverted response. Some people have an external response. But just because you don't see me screaming, or you may not even see tears in my eyes, doesn't mean that what's going on doesn't affect me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it bothers me even more that you think I should express my grief in the way that you would, or you think I should express my fear in the way that you would. It's like, how
Right.
could you not be afraid? Or how could you not comfort her? How could you be so cold? It's like, nah, I'm responding in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can do that. Like, we got enough people panicking in the room. You don't need me to do it just so you can feel more comfortable with your own level of panic. I'm looking at solutions right now.
Right. Right.
You
And
know,
and
and it may
that's
hit
what
you later.
exactly. And that's where it goes into once you practice applying the knowledge, practicing what we're given the instructions or so, and utilizing solutions, then that gives us the ability to calm those moments, not just the storms within ourselves, but then, you know, dealing with other life, like Emma Aquia was saying, it becomes easier to calm those others people. I've had to work out calming other people down, and it seems like, but again, with practice with oneself, and like she was saying, like we're Jegners in training. Yeah, you after a while you're gonna get it. You'll get it, and then you'll notice that how other people with their storms or with their turbulence they're going through in their life, you can see, well, yeah, they're going through because they're looking at it from a different perspective. They're not calming their thoughts. They're allowing they're going through it, but it's hitting them hard. And so you do the best you can. But other people, there's most people that they're not going to see it. Like Chief's like, okay, they ain't going to get it this time, but they may get it in a couple of lifetimes, but hey.
And some people, here's the funny thing too. A lot of times you're more prepared for the storm than you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually the initial impact that you're really afraid of. Once you're in it, you realize, like, I have the tools I need to deal with this storm.
Right.
The person who comes out at the other end of the storm is going to be much stronger as long as I can hold firm and deal with everything one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And also not be afraid to help others. Like you were talking about the community, having a community around you. I have people who I can lean on. I have counsel who I can counsel that I can solicit from my community members. I have support from people who realize that you're going through it right now. Call me up and let me know what's going on. Or if you do reach that point, like the question I asked earlier, if you do reach that point where you don't have a clear answer, you can always call me and we can talk it out.
Mm-hmm.
And come up with some solutions. Or when we're on our community calls, like sisters in their womb space, or we're in the men's call, bring it up. And you would be surprised how many solutions you get, or how much guidance you get, or how much perspective you gain on this storm that you're facing. You may be making a molehill, a mountain out of a molehill.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be doing the opposite too. You might be like, oh, it's nothing. It's like, no, you need to focus on what's going on because I don't think you can see clearly what's happening. Maybe your coping mechanism is to ignore your storm. It doesn't mean that it's not there. And when you really get triggered, you're not going to have a means to deal with it because you always think that you can put it off.
Right.
Yeah. Ema Queen says, imagine calming a family member when their loved one is circling the drain, right? Had to take someone back to reality, then hug her. Yeah, that's rough.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough. Okay, I think we caught up. And we're at the end. It's like 33 minutes over. So we're going to close out. Hopefully you all got something out of this. I guess the word for the night is suru. Patience. Yeah, but 1 second.
Master Menyelek is keeping suru. See, he's using suru right at this moment.
Yeah, calm the storm.
Yeah. So we for our announcements before we close.
Right. We have.
I got you, my brother. I got you.
Yeah, keep me on track. See, that's why you need community, right? And I see a lot of stuff for Ema Kira Eden. I do not see the thing.
It's referring to the Anu retreat.
The Anu retreat, 2023.
Yes.
And I do not see it. But if you go to anulifeglobal.org, you can definitely get some more information about the retreat. Sign up for the retreat, sign up for it, register for it, so that we can get a head count. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to be in New Orleans this year. Have a lot of activities. We're going to have a lot of people to meet, stories to share. And it's always fun when we all get to commune together, sit around the fire, have our jam sessions. have communal events, eat good food, healthy food, life-giving food. Nothing that's gonna stall you out or have you circling the drain. Yeah, it was. I don't know where they put it. See, I don't know where it is. It was there when I was here last time. So
yeah, but as Master Menyelek was sharing, for those who haven't registered, listen. Going back to instructions, you gotta register. You gotta register because we need a head count. Okay, it's closing up because we're gonna be the door's closing pretty soon because there's a committee that's planning everything and we need a head count. So we need everybody to register to make sure that you're coming. Just darn it, hit it. Just not hit it like that, but anyhow.
Nobody was thinking of way.
Just go ahead. I'm saying I'm keeping calm. I'm just
right.
making a joke right now, but just register. That's it. As simple as that. Register. Well, I don't know about the date. Don't damn it, come. That's it. Just come. That's it.
The slogan for 2023. All right. Willfully then. Red Wrap.
Red Wrap, yes.
The Red Wrap event is going on. You can check out. It's similar to the retreat as well. You can check out anulifeglobalministries.org for more information. You can also check out our Instagram pages. Anuman, the Anuman, Anumom, and Anu Life Global Ministries. If you have questions, you can send your questions to them, or you can check out the frequently asked questions on the website. So willfully that helps. The relevant links will be in the description below. If this was helpful, leave a comment. If this was, if you had something you wanted to add, if you're catching this on the back end, leave a comment, and we will get to them. All right. But that is it for me. Anything you want to add before we sign out?
No, give thanks. Shabbat shalom to everyone. Enjoy a peaceful night. Keep those storms calm. Keep them calm. Suru. Peace. Cool head.
All right. Peace, everyone.
Peace.